What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Nick with LVRG Media, and welcome to another episode of Path to a Million podcast. Remember, we've got a live Q&A coming up at 5:30 p.m. Central Time. I'll answer any kind of, or I'll give my opinion on situations, or give you answers to questions you might have specifically about the Paycheck Protection Program. So join us there. Yesterday we did like 90 minutes, and so I'd imagine I've got an interview at 7 tonight Central, so I can go for about 90 minutes, and then if there are any questions afterwards, I can go back and answer them later. But this is going to be the last video I make until then, because I got to go actually help unpack. I was supposed to do that 2 hours ago, but I keep trying to get this stuff out here, especially the stuff that's in the bill, because I think people have been thinking that I'm just like making this stuff up, or like that I'm, they're kind of taking my word for it. And I don't think many people are like questioning that I'm like making it up, but I want to read this stuff, and I reread it for some specific situations that I was getting. So these videos today have basically been me reading the bill and then giving my, personal interpretation on it. So this is one for offices or doctors that maybe, so if you're an employee and you're a chiropractor, hopefully if you're an employee, you should have your employer watch these videos, because I think it's going to be best for everybody just to stay on payroll. But if your employer does not want to do the Paycheck Protection Program, or I had a conversation with somebody a couple of nights ago where she was just like, he won't do anything, like he won't like help me in any way, and he won't lay me off. And I mean, it was just like, it seemed like a really bad situation. But so if your employer is just not going to do anything, then you could probably go to unemployment as an employee. Normally for self-employed people, you cannot go file unemployment. This bill changed the rules for that, so that self-employed people would be able to get an unemployment. So I'm gonna read the section here, and the unemployment part is like really, really complicated. It's really more about how the federal government is going to pay the states to fund all of this. But the two things you have to know are, if any of you have ever dealt with unemployment, there's like basically a chart where, based on how much money you make, they come up with a weekly amount that they pay you for unemployment. And I think most are usually in that, like somewhere in that like 40 to 60% of what you make is what you get on unemployment. So it's like enough for you to survive on, but it's low enough to where they're like, encouraging you to go back out and get a real job. So with this though, most states are between 12 weeks and 28 weeks of unemployment, like normal. I think Illinois is 26 weeks, and I think most states are 26 weeks. But not only are they going to, the government is going to extend whatever your state is another 13 weeks. So if, let's say it's 26 weeks, you would be eligible you'd be able to stay on unemployment for 39 weeks, 26 plus 13. During the recession, I think I remember correctly on the stimulus bill that they allowed up to 99 weeks, if I remember correctly, of unemployment, but they didn't add any money on top of the unemployment. It was just like, you can stay on unemployment for longer, and the federal government will pay for anything beyond what your state does. With this, it's different. This is going to allow people to get $600 extra per week on top of what the state will pay. So if you, let's say, it doesn't even matter. Like whatever you qualify for the state unemployment on the charts, let's say it was $400 a week, you would get $600 from the federal government on top of the $400 for a total of $1,000 per week. Okay. So as a self-employed person, if you're not paying yourself any payroll, if you haven't been able to show any kind of like Schedule C or K1, you haven't really had any profit, your personal tax return maybe shows a loss, then you're probably just going to you're going to qualify, I would guess, for whatever the minimal amount is. I think I saw that the Illinois minimum was like $50 a week. So basically, like, let's say it's $50 a week is the minimum if you qualify for unemployment, no matter how like little you make. The federal government would then pay $600 on top of that, so it's $650. And I believe that, don't quote me on this, but I believe unemployment money is just like straight money. You get to use it. You don't have to pay taxes on it. I don't know that for a fact, but I don't think they like take payroll taxes out of the $650. I think it's just like, here's $650 to like live on. That would be $2,600, right? 650, 13, yeah. It'd be $2,600-ish a month. You're also going to get the $1,200 check that everybody gets. So that for this month, you get $3,800 to live on. I would guess if you haven't been making any money and you haven't been showing any profit, that $3,800 would be pretty well. 1099s do qualify. Yeah, I would think, like, I assume you're talking about your massage therapist, Mike. I would guess that they would qualify as self-employed because like the 1099 people, yeah, because they have to pay like their own taxes and all that. So they probably do. Like it also counts towards your payroll costs. And I think they want you to keep those people on if you can. But I think they would probably qualify because like these chiropractors that are independent contractors that get 1099s, which would be no different than like a massage therapist. I think that they get the self-employment qualification. Annie King says it is taxed. You have the option for them to take it out when you apply. Gotcha. So there you go. I've never done unemployment before myself, so I didn't know that for a fact. So do they take the taxes out like they do with payroll taxes? Or could you leave them in and then potentially pay them in like arrears, like at the end when you're, but anyway, I would guess that if they didn't want to come back, like I said, Mike, maybe, but I still think you want them to come back because of what we talked about on the other video. In terms of the unemployment side of it, on it being taxed, I didn't read all of the nitty gritty of the unemployment rules, but I bet you they're going to be waiving a lot of the like taxation on the unemployment money just because they want to get money into people's hands so they can actually use it. But we won't go into the weeds on that. So basically you get whatever you're weekly allowed on the state unemployment, and then 600 extra on top of that with the federal. But I wanted to read this about for the people that are sole proprietors, that are LLCs, that don't pay themselves paychecks and like haven't been showing any profit, or maybe really new in practice. Unemployment may be an option you want to look into. I don't know if unemployment affects your ability to get any of these other loans. Like there was a woman that messaged me yesterday that she's really new in practice and she had like an x-ray machine loan and she had like a small business loan and like some credit cards, and she didn't want to file for unemployment and she wasn't really sure what to do because she didn't make any money. So unemployment may be an option, and then maybe she could refinance with the disaster loans. But again, the disaster loans are going to be based on your ability to repay. So they may not be willing to do that. But she only had a few $10,000, like $20,000, $30,000 that she would have to take care of. So it'd be like a couple $100 a month. But anyway, let me read this. Calculations of amounts for certain covered individuals. In the case of a covered individual who is self-employed, so before this, they talked about how they were changing the rules so that self-employed people could use unemployment. In the case of a covered individual who is self-employed, who lives in a territory described in subsection, meaning like any state, and they also were talking about Puerto Rico and Virgin Islands and things that are territories of the United States, or who would not otherwise qualify for unemployment compensation under state law, because self-employed people don't qualify under state law. The assistance authorized under subsection B for a week of unemployment shall be calculated in accordance with section 62.6 of Title 20, Code of Federal Regulations, or any successor thereto, and shall be increased by the amount of federal pandemic unemployment compensation under section 2104. So I think that what this is saying is that each week that unemployment amount will be calculated based off of what that extra $600 that per week that they're giving people. And I think it means that you need to use your state calculator to determine what somebody's entitled to for unemployment, even if they're self-employed, forget about the 600, just like what are you entitled to like here in the state, and then they add $600 to that. Now that'll be coming from the state. The federal government's going to give the state the money. That's why I'm saying like most of that part of the bill was really about like how the state and federal government interact. But the federal government's going to give the state the money, and then they're going to add that $600 a week onto that. So for those of you that are not employed by someone, that don't have that much income to show, and you don't have employees, unemployment may be a better option for you. So you want to make sure that you really look into that and see if that's a better fit for you. So Josiah, I think you're on here right now. I did a video on that headcount thing and the total payroll, and you might want to watch that because the headcount thing I think is going to be in your favor. So you might want to check that out. All right, this is gonna be my last video. I gotta go help pack. I've done a terrible job of going 2 hours over, but I'm gonna be back at 5:30 Central to do a live Q&A. So if you guys have any like specific questions, show up there, or you can like leave a comment in one of these videos and I'll see it in my notifications. So I'll talk to you guys soon.